Hi, welcome to the premiere episode of The Sit-In. Just for you viewers out there, The Sit-In is actually based on the civil rights protests, the sit-ins. My grandfather, James R. Mapp, was a big person in the civil rights movement, so I decided to move the needle a little forward and still continue his vision and progress that. The Sit-In is here where we have especially Black people and marginalized groups given a space to really talk about an array of things, everything from belonging in spaces, creating our own spaces, and more. So the Sit-In, here you belong, here you are heard, and here you are seen. The Sit-In, you ain't gotta get up. So we're gonna drop right into it. On our premiere episode, it is Black creatives. I have three lovely ladies that I look up to here with me today. I have Ciara Leroy, nearest to me. So she's an artist with pretty strange design. And I have Porscha Lynette, influencer and interior design with PL Coney Designs. And then I have Samantha Johnson with Sam Manhattan PR. You are a brand manager and producer. So thank you for being with me, ladies. Let's jump right into it. What inspired you all to create?
Well, I have been creative, ever since I was like yay high. It's just something that is inside of me and it's just always like bursting to get out. So it comes really naturally, and it's something that I have to do and I have to share.
No, I definitely understand being a creative myself. What about you, Porscha?
So I actually, was and / still am a stay-at-home mother. Mm-hmm. So it really just gave me an outlet to find my purpose and to really just find who I am and not lose myself while trying to be an amazing mother and wife.
What about you?
I got my first camera probably in elementary school, first video camera in middle school, and just, put together everything from the sun with my cousins, and it just kind of developed into other things as I started to really get into commercials, and then social media happened, and I realized I was really good at it, and before it was a paid thing, I was just doing it for other people for free, and yeah, here we are.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to wanting to be creative at a young age, having that spark, having that passion. And you talk about actually doing things for free, and now you kind of transitioned into monetizing you all's creative spirit. One thing, how was that transition in figuring out how to monetize something that you're passionate about?
I'm still working on that. I do charge, but for me, I had a hard time charging folks because I started doing it so naturally for free that it was hard to get people to realize that this wasn't just something that I was doing. I had a 9-to-5 before, and so it was just my favorite place to eat. I'm going to share this, I took a good picture with my phone. But I just took the number I wanted to make a year, divided it down. I have a weekly rate, I have an hourly rate, depending on if it's something, depending on what it is, that may sway back and forth, but.
Yeah, it's really hard figuring out that number with the charge. I think there's always a balance of trying to figure out, you want to give back and help us build, but at the same time, you're a professional and you should get paid for your work. For you all, I feel like you all have a little bit of a seat at the table. Can you share about how to get a seat at the table, or do you even feel like you have a seat at the table?
I think I feel like I have a seat at the table. I'm fairly new to Lexington, Kentucky, so just last year I rebranded my blog and decided hey, I'm gonna do this for real. Mm-hmm. And as a result, I put myself out there. I didn't wait for anyone to invite me. When I seen events happening, I said, hey, I'm coming. If someone said, we're doing this, who would like to come? I'm the first one to sign up. And literally, because being here and not knowing anyone, you cannot sit at home and think that you're just going to get invited. You know what I mean? And of course, God does his amazing work, but you have to do the work as well. You have to push your foot out there first.
Right.
So I showed up. I went out there. I put my face out there. Mm-hmm. I let people know, hey, this is my name. And when I got to those events, those places, I made a place for myself and I took up room. So people knew when I walked in, hey, who is this girl? And when they walked out, they knew who my name was.
No, that is very inspirational because it's like, no, you really, especially here in this region, like you really have to put yourself out there. And speaking of having a seat at the table, there's a lot of creatives out there and a lot of people just in general looking to break in, looking to get their own seat at the table. What advice would you have, Ciara, for people that are allies or already have the space to people that are looking to come?
Ooh. So I would say if you consider yourself to be an ally, that you should make inclusion a part of your bargaining chip when you're thinking about collaborating with someone or someone has asked you to be a part of something. Make inclusion a priority and saying I will not do this unless you're including people who don't look like me as well. Right. And and I think enough people who consider themselves to be allies don't do that enough. Yeah. They notice that there isn't enough of variety of people in the room, but they're not really doing anything about it or speaking up. They're just oh well, and just going along with their day. Yeah,
I think you're right in that sense, and the fact that we have to create our own spaces, but don't feel bad about we're here. This is what I do, and we're good at it. Right. Sometimes, even though we find ourselves in these tables with a lot of influential people, a lot of people that we respect and look up to, sometimes that little imposter syndrome creeps up. I know it happens with me. It happens with me on a daily basis, and I got to tell that little me inside of me, you belong here, you're qualified, you can do that. So what have you all's experience been with imposter syndrome, and how do you overcome it? Anyone can answer.
I really don't deal with it as much here locally as I do when I step outside of Kentucky, because the conversation it's just different when I leave. Here it is that we're all trying to make it, but no one is talking about making it to what. At the table, at every single table that I sit at when I am working outside of Kentucky, the conversation is $150,000 wasn't enough. So-and-so's making $250 and we quit because we saw what they're charging for our time and now we can make $300. And that's chump change. I read an article recently talked about millennials making $100,000 now feel strapped. And I'm sorry, what? And struggling artists is relevant everywhere. However, there are people really getting to it. And I think it's just here, I'm a friend of mine's oh, you're doing this, doing that, and I'm the struggle's real. And then you see all these quotes on social that say, you're so busy trying to get to the next thing that you forget to remember that you're in the space that you prayed about being in, right now. So I try to be humble and remember that all the time. But there is this sense of okay, how long are we going to be talking about trying to make it, before we're just really getting to the money, not finally charging for services, but getting to it and saying this is what I charge and that's it. And so I feel I have that when I'm outside because I feel that's not my everyday conversation. And I'm a little uncomfortable talking about money already. And I do come from the struggle bus some days. And so when I'm sitting around, I'm I don't even know how to insert myself into this conversation other than be help. So I did that. I did do that recently at a conference. These girls were talking and she was well, my thing is talking about why are we stopping at 100,000? This is how you can make more. And it was for people whose businesses had made $100,000, who were filling it, profiting from it. You know what I mean? Not just this is what we made, this is what I brought home. And I was I'm sorry, let me tell you what I made at my last job, the last 4 years. And they were floored. Yeah, I mean, they just, and so, not that I shouldn't have been, because I was too, but it's really here in Lexington, you're not going to make more than $60,000 unless you're in corporate America as an ED, and then you make 80. But $100,000 is still not really.
It's really tough for creatives, especially me moving back from New York City. It's hard for people to really understand the worth of creativity, but we bring in dollars from branding to marketing to influencing. That is what we do, and we deserve to get paid for it because they'll find the money. It's just about going out there and getting it. And so I know we talk about dealing with a lot of the outside world and, having allies, but let's talk about within our community, our space. So sometimes, we don't tend to get all the support from one another, especially within Black women, as I would like to. I think there is a small niche of that in Lexington, but how do we expand that, and what has your experience been with in terms of our community? And we can be candid. I know it's a struggle.
I mean, it's really, like I said, I'm new here. So when I started going to influencer events or doing certain things, I was the only Black person. And I would get DMs from other Black influencers saying, well, why didn't you tell me about it? Or why didn't you invite me? Or, and I'm just like, well, wait, we're on the same team, you know what I mean? Or at least, you seen the email too. Why didn't you respond?
Right.
Yeah. And I understand the whole alley, and I'm just trying to bring other people together and pull our Black sisters and brothers up. But we also have we have a responsibility to do the same work.
Yes.
You cannot sit at home and just expect that, no, you have to do the work as well. And if I see that you don't want to be here, or if I see that you're not putting the same energy that I am, I'm probably not going to reach out to you. I'm probably going to reach out to someone who wants it just as bad as me, So it's challenging with within our community. It's super, the support I get from, my closest friends, but from other people or whatnot, it sometimes it can be hard.
Yeah, I think, as challenging as it could be, we're still putting in the work. We're still trying to make it happen. And with success comes struggle and all. And I know you have reached out and you're putting together Black creatives. What was your inspiration behind that? Is it essentially, not having a seat at the table? Is it essentially wanting to bring people together? How would you?
So as I've been in Lexington for over a decade, and I feel like I'm just starting to get momentum, and I'm just starting to get a lot of really great opportunities. But I still see my fellow Black creatives not really getting those opportunities, and a lot of it does have to do with not putting yourself out there and being visible enough, visibility.
Or consistent, because that's what I need to work on with my blog in general. That's hard. But
so sometimes I hesitate to tell other Black creators about things because I'm you're not being consistent, or you're not putting out good work, and that is that's a taboo thing to talk about. But if you're not putting out work that is to the caliber of things that are above that of what's already out there, then I can't really rock with you.
And then what do you all think about? Because that's what personally I see, or some people might say, is that they're talented, but their logo is not vectored. They're talented, but their website looks like a MySpace page from '99. I'm not saying that, but some people might say that. But I think presentation has a lot to do with whether people work with you or not. And what advice would you all give to somebody that is just as talented, just as creative, but may not have the skill set to really get to the level that you all are?
So I don't have a problem reaching out. There was someone who had she had posted a photo on Instagram, and I didn't really know her very well, but I loved the photo, but it was really dark. And I don't remember how, why or what, but it bothered me. And so I was like, hey girl, I know you don't know me, but let me give you a quick tip. This is how you can do this, and this is what can make this better, and this is what I just recently learned. And we connected, and then she asked me to coffee, and I, she was interested in any other feedback that I might have had, or opportunities or resources or whatnot. That gets tricky because I did not charge her. She did not buy my coffee, but it was okay because, you know what? I felt like it was meant to happen. I felt it on my heart to reach out. That's how it went down. But in terms of going back to the support comment, what I wish someone would have done for me when I first started working specifically at the No ICDC, I tried to have little sit downs and coffee with a lot of Black women just to say hey, I know what is being said about this community / organization, and this is why I've chosen to do this. Some of them were really receptive and some of them weren't. And one of them was like, I really don't even care. So I was like, oh, this is easier than I thought.
Right.
But then in a very significant and slightly powerful group of women of color, from Black to Pacific Asian or whatnot, Pacific Islander and Asian, I got slighted and really shaded because of taking the position. And to the point that people who talked to me for years before quit. Meetings were canceled and I was snubbed quite a bit. And it was because I was viewed as a sellout. But what I wish would have happened from my sisters in particular was that someone would have said, I don't think this is a good idea. Let me make the decision to take your, to heed or take heed or not. But no one came up to me and said, like, let's talk about this, or, hey, you're my friend first.
Yeah.
Let me, and instead it was just some years later, and it wasn't, and it's just recently been in the last like 365 days that people have come around.
Yeah, and I think it sometimes takes people a little time, so you're not deemed as the Uncle Tom or the sellout, but overall, like, we just need to support one another, and like Issa Rae says, network across, and I think people will slowly start to come around now that people are seeing all the work that you're doing, like they're really understanding. So before we get out of here, I appreciate you all sitting in with me. And do you all have any last words that you want to say? Anything you want to let the audience know?
What's the best that could happen?
What's the best that can happen? Yes, that is, I use hashtag WTB.
Everything always works out. Like,
yes.
no matter what you're going through, what you're dealing with. I think back to my worst moment, the last time I was in a situation and I didn't know how I was going to get out of it. And I look at where I am today. It always works out. Always.
Just start. Like, regardless of like what you like, stop focusing on what you don't have and focus on what you have. Find people who, if you're like admiring them, find them, reach out to them, and just start. Don't let anything stop you. Just go after it, and it's gonna get better.
Stay ready.
That's real.
Y'all are giving gems, people.
Yeah, if you want to get somewhere, make sure like your branding is on point.
Yes.
Like, always be learning, increasing your skills, so that when those opportunities come, like, you are ready to start. You're ready to begin.
Yes.
All right. Well, those are great words. What's the best that can happen? Start and stay ready. I appreciate you ladies sitting in with me and really doing my first episode. It really means a lot. I've been working on this for a while. I'm a little emotional about it because I started. I'm staying ready.
Yes.
And what's the best that can happen? So remember, visit us at thesitinproductions.com and follow us. Just remember, here you belong, here you are heard, and here you are seen. The Sit-In, you ain't gotta get up. Thank you.